Hi, Russ of Aquarimax Pets here, and today I'm going to show you an option for an inexpensive display enclosure for isopods and other invertebrates. There are a lot of options when it comes to housing your isopods and other pet arthropods. I keep most of my isopods in sterilite tubs. They're very reasonably priced, and they make practical homes for isopods, but they're definitely not good display enclosures. My absolute favorite display enclosures for isopods and many other invertebrates are tarantula cribs. I've kept a variety of creatures in them with excellent results. I'm currently housing my Asian forest scorpion, my Cubaris species rubber ducky isopods, one of my Scolopendra polymorpha centipedes, my Phidippus regius jumping spider, and my velvet spider in tarantula cribs enclosures. These are very attractive enclosures. They're made of high quality, clear acrylic. The ventilation is fantastic, and the magnetic closures are secure enough to ensure that whatever you're keeping inside that enclosure will stay inside. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out tarantula cribs enclosures. But today's video is about a middle-of-the-road enclosure option. It's a much better display enclosure than a sterilite tub, and while it doesn't have the quality or all of the features of a tarantula cribs enclosure, it is fairly inexpensive. First, you'll need a plastic container sold for use as a display case. These vary widely in size and are offered by several different companies. I'll put some links in the description. For this particular application, which is a rehousing of my display setup for Armadillidium gestroi isopods, I'm using a display case sold for use with 1:18 scale model cars. The initial step, after you unwrap any packaging, is to give the enclosure a good rinse with plain water, inside and out. Dry it gently to avoid scratching it. Next, decide where you want to drill the enclosure for ventilation. The amount, the number, and even the size of the ventilation holes will, of course, depend on the species that you house, as well as the airflow and ambient humidity range in the area where the enclosure will be kept. I like to drill high up on the sides of the enclosure for cross ventilation, and often along the back of the lid as well. I measure the areas I'm going to drill, and based on that measurement, I figure out exactly how many holes I will want and the distance between the holes. To keep the lines of drilled holes consistent, I use painter's tape and a pen to mark where each hole will go. Using a very small bore drill bit, I drill the holes, being careful not to let the tip of the drill touch the plastic, or it will scratch the area around the holes. With my fingers, I remove any burrs of plastic clinging to the holes. If you drill top ventilation in the enclosure lid and plan on stacking the containers, and I often do both, it's a good idea to add something to make sure that the air can circulate even when the enclosures are stacked. Some of the containers come with two of these little adhesive feet, but just two of them don't work very well unless you want to use the container in a vertically oriented position. I bought a pack of these adhesive cabinet door bumpers so I can put a foot on each corner of the enclosure. I'll put a link in the description to these door bumpers as well. Before I rehouse these Armadillidium gestroi into this container, there are two things I'd like to say. First, I'd like to thank my patrons on patreon.com for their support. You're amazing. One of my favorite things to do is share what I learn about the fantastic creatures on this earth with you, and my patrons have found a great way to help me do that. A little goes a long way, so if you'd like to help support the Aquarimax Pets YouTube channel for as little as $1 a month, you can check out the link at the end of the video, or in the description, or just go to patreon.com and type in Aquarimax. Now, I'd like to share the pros and cons of this specific type of plastic container with you. As far as pros, I've already mentioned a few of them. Makes a pretty good display container, comes in various sizes, and it's fairly inexpensive. I purchased this enclosure for less than $20 US, even including tax, at a craft supply store. It's easy to customize in terms of ventilation, and with the addition of the cabinet bumpers, it's stackable. It does have some cons. This type of acrylic is more fragile than an enclosure from tarantula cribs, for example. Another con is that the plastic can be scratched fairly easily if you're not careful. Because these enclosures are intended as display cases for things that don't need regular maintenance, like a model car, the lids fit very snugly. This is a good thing if you want to prevent escapes of something that could push the lid open and climb out. But it's not so great when you're opening the enclosure frequently. Over time, the lids do tend to wear a bit and open more easily, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what you keep in them. All things considered, I found them to be a useful budget option for display enclosures for various creatures. I currently keep various types of isopods and my colony of Say's harvestmen, Vonones sayi, in them. What are your favorite display enclosure options for your isopods and other arthropods? Please let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching today. I post videos every Friday with live streams on Wednesdays, all on aquarium and vivarium pets with lots of isopod content. Feel free to share, like, comment, and if you haven't already,
subscribe.
And then tap the bell and choose notifications all so you don't miss my next video.